Have you ever wondered why so many people, even in today's modern world, still turn to the teachings of the Buddha for guidance? It's because his wisdom wasn't just about religion or ritual, it was about how to live a meaningful life. The Buddha shared timeless lessons that speak directly to our daily struggles, the stress we carry, the fears we face, and the endless search for happiness that never seems to end. Think about it. How often do we chase after success, relationships, or material things, believing they'll finally bring us peace? And yet, even when we get what we want, the satisfaction fades so quickly. That's exactly why the Buddha's teachings remain so powerful. He reminds us that true happiness doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. It's about how we see the world, how we respond to challenges, and how we choose to nurture our minds. In this video, we'll explore simple but profound Buddhist principles that can help you live with more peace, clarity, and confidence. These are not abstract ideas. They're practical tools you can use every single day. And as you listen, I invite you to reflect. What is one thing you've been holding onto that may be stealing your peace? Because sometimes letting go is the very first step toward freedom. So let's begin this journey together, one that could open your heart, calm your mind, and guide you to a happier, more fulfilling life. Let's start with one of the greatest obstacles to inner peace, our attachment to the past. Think about it for a moment. How often do we replay old memories, especially the painful ones, as if watching the same movie again and again? The Buddha compared this habit to dragging a heavy boat across dry land. The boat has no water to float on, yet we keep pulling it, exhausting ourselves for no reason. That's exactly what happens when we carry the weight of the past. Doesn't move us forward. It only holds us back. The truth is, not everything in life is within our control. Some things happen that we cannot change, no matter how hard we try. Maybe it was a broken relationship, a missed opportunity, or words you wish you had never said. If you find yourself constantly replaying these moments, ask yourself, does holding on to this memory bring me peace, or is it just another burden on my shoulders? Now, here's something important. Letting go doesn't mean erasing the past. You don't need to force yourself to forget. In fact, the more you fight to forget, the stronger the memory becomes. Instead, allow it to naturally fade, little by giving it less attention. Just like a scar on your skin, emotional wounds need time and space to heal. But if you keep scratching it by constantly recalling and reliving the pain, it will never close. The Buddha taught that painful memories are like wounds. They are not meant to be reopened, but to be gently cared for until they heal. That means we need patience, kindness toward ourselves, and a willingness to move forward. So the next time you catch yourself dwelling on something from years ago, pause and remind yourself, that moment has passed. I cannot change it, but I can choose how I live today. Let me share an example. Okay, imagine someone who went through a painful breakup. At first, every song, every place, every memory brings tears. That person spends years replaying the what ifs and if onlys. They stay stuck in the past, unable to create a brighter present. Okay, but if instead they accept that not everything is in their control, give less attention to the painful memories, and focus on nurturing new experiences, over time, the wound softens. The pain becomes less sharp, and eventually, it no longer defines them. This doesn't happen overnight. Healing is a process. But each time you choose to release rather than relive, you take one step closer to freedom. Remember, the past is a teacher, not a prison. You can learn from it, but you don't have to live in it. So ask yourself right now, what boat from your past are you still dragging across dry land? And more importantly, are you ready to set it down and walk freely into your future? Now, let's talk about something all of us are searching for: happiness. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, almost every decision we make is in some way an attempt to feel happier. But here's the problem: most of us look for it in the wrong places. We chase material possessions, achievements, or recognition, hoping they'll finally make us feel complete. And yes, those things can bring joy for a little while, but have you noticed how quickly it fades? The Buddha taught that true happiness isn't found in the outside world. It comes from the purity and peace of our own mind. So how can we actually experience that kind of happiness? There are three powerful ways. The first is acceptance of reality. Life is never a straight line. It's full of ups and downs, moments of joy and moments of sorrow. The more we resist what is, the more we suffer. Imagine standing in the ocean, trying to stop the waves with your hands. It's impossible. But if you learn to flow with them, you can swim with far less struggle. In the same way, when we accept that challenges and change are natural parts of life, we find the strength to face them with calmness rather than frustration. The second path to happiness is generosity. Have you ever noticed how good it feels to give, whether it's your time, your attention, or even something simple like a kind word? Science now confirms what the Buddha taught centuries ago. Giving triggers a deep sense of joy. The key is to give without expecting anything in return. When generosity comes from a sincere heart, it creates a happiness that lasts far longer than the temporary pleasure of buying something new for yourself. And here's a question worth reflecting on. When was the last time you gave something, big or small, that left your heart feeling lighter? The third is perhaps the most transformative: forgiveness. Carrying resentment is like holding a hot coal in your hand, hoping it will burn someone else. In reality, you're the one in pain. Forgiving others doesn't mean approving of their actions. It means choosing not to let their mistakes continue to poison your heart. And forgiveness isn't only for others, it's for yourself too. How many of us replay our own regrets, punishing ourselves long after the event has passed? Forgiveness allows us to release that burden and finally breathe freely again. When you bring these three practices together, acceptance, generosity, and forgiveness, you discover a kind of happiness that isn't dependent on circumstances. It's not about everything being perfect on the outside. It's about cultivating peace on the inside. So let me ask you this: if happiness truly begins within, what small step can you take today, whether it's accepting, giving, or forgiving, that will move you closer to that unshakable joy? When we talk about love, most people think of romance, the butterflies, the passion, the desire to hold on tightly to someone. But the Buddha made a powerful distinction that many of us overlook: the difference between attachment and true love. At first, they may look similar, but in reality, they are worlds apart. Attachment is rooted in self-interest. It's when we expect another person to make us happy, to complete us, or to live according to our expectations. And when they don't, we feel hurt, disappointed, even betrayed. It's like putting the weight of your happiness on someone else's shoulders. That is a burden no relationship can carry forever. True love, on the other hand, is something much deeper and more freeing. It is built on compassion, kindness, and patience. Instead of asking, "What can I get from this person?" the question becomes, "How can I help them be happy?" Real love is not about possession. It's about wishing well. When you genuinely love someone, their joy becomes your joy. You don't need to control them, and you don't demand constant reassurance. You simply give without expecting anything in return. Think about the love a parent feels for their child. A mother doesn't feed her baby in order to get something back. She gives out of pure care. That's the essence of true love: selfless, nurturing, patient. And yet, many of us fall into the trap of mistaking attachment for love. We cling, we expect, and we end up suffering when reality doesn't match our ideals. Let me share an example. Imagine two partners, one who constantly says, why don't you do more for me? Why don't you make me happy? And another who says, I just want to see you smile, and I'll do what I can to support that. Which one feels lighter? Which one feels like love? That simple shift in mindset from taking to giving changes everything. Now, this doesn't mean true love is always easy. It requires patience when your partner makes mistakes. It's kindness when they are struggling, and compassion even when they are not at their best. It's about seeing them as a human being, not a source of your personal happiness. And here's the beautiful truth. When two people both practice this kind of love, when each person gives without clinging, the relationship becomes a source of deep peace and joy. There's less fear of loss, less conflict, and more space for growth. So here's a question worth reflecting on in your relationships today. Are you practicing attachment or true love? Do you expect happiness from the other person? Or are you also willing to give happiness freely? 'Cause in the end, true love isn't about what you get, it's about what you give. And paradoxically, when you love in this way, happiness flows back to you naturally, without ever having to chase it. We all know that relationships can bring us some of the greatest joy in life, but also some of the deepest pain. So how do we create bonds that last, that uplift us instead of drain us? The Buddha gave us 6 timeless principles for building strong, healthy, and lasting relationships. And the beauty is, these principles apply to every kind of relationship, romantic, family, friendships, even professional ones. The first 3 all revolve around kindness. But kindness isn't just a vague idea. It shows up in 3 different ways: through our actions, our words, and our thoughts. Think about kindness in action. It could be something simple, like making a cup of coffee for your partner in the morning, or offering a helping hand to a friend who's struggling. Small gestures, repeated consistently, build a foundation of trust and love. Then there's kindness in speech. Words have incredible power. They can heal, or they can wound. Speaking with respect, encouragement, and honesty creates a safe space where the relationship can flourish. Have you ever noticed how one careless comment can linger for years? That's how powerful our words are. So when we choose words that uplift rather than tear down, we invest in the strength of the bond. And finally, kindness in thought. Even if we act politely, what we think inside matters too. True relationships thrive when our thoughts are rooted in goodwill rather than resentment or jealousy. Because sooner or later, what we carry in our minds will find its way into our actions and words. The 4th principle is sharing without hesitation. This doesn't just mean material things like money or possessions. It also means sharing your time, your attention, your presence. When you're willing to give freely without always keeping score, it creates a spirit of generosity that strengthens the bond. The 5th principle is living with virtue. This means living in a way that builds trust. When your actions reflect honesty, integrity, and respect, the people around you feel safe with you. Without that trust, no relationship can truly last. And the 6th principle is about shared values and direction. Imagine 2 people walking side by side, but heading toward completely different destinations. Eventually, they'll part ways. That's why healthy relationships are built not just on affection, but on common goals, dreams, or a shared sense of purpose. When 2 people are aligned in vision, they can walk the path of life together with strength and unity. So here's something worth reflecting on. In your closest relationships, how many of these 6 principles are present? Kindness in action, in words, and in thought. Generosity, virtue, and shared direction. The more you cultivate them, the stronger your connections will become. Because at the end of the day, relationships don't fall apart because of one big thing. More often, they fade because we forget to practice these small, daily principles of love and respect. And the good news is, it's never too late to start. As we close, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The wisdom we explored. Today, letting go of the past, finding true happiness within, discovering real love, and building healthy relationships isn't just philosophy. It's a guide for living. The Buddha's teachings remind us that peace doesn't come from changing the world outside, but from transforming the way we see and live within it. Think about it. How different would life feel if you stopped dragging the weight of old memories? If you chose generosity instead of constant striving? If you loved with compassion instead of clinging with fear? These aren't impossible ideals. They're choices we can make. It's one small step at a time, every single day. The real question is, which of these lessons will you begin practicing right now? Maybe it's forgiveness. Maybe it's kindness. Maybe it's simply pausing to breathe and be present. Whatever it is, that choice can open the door to a calmer, brighter, and more fulfilling life. If today's message inspired you, I invite you to subscribe, share this video, and continue walking this path with us. Together, we can spread wisdom, peace, and love into a world that needs it more than ever.